Welcome to the Reality Revolution. I'm your host, Brian Scott. Today we're going to read some Quo channelings dealing with a variety of topics, including the light, and angels, marijuana, and a variety of other topics. We begin with a channeling delivered on February 12th, 2011. Jim asks, the question this evening has to do with the concept of angels. We would like to ask just what angels are and how we can interact with them. Are they different from or similar to guides? We are known to you as the principle of Quo. We greet you in the love and in the light of the one infinite Creator in whose service we come to you this evening. We are privileged indeed to have been called to your circle of seeking and are very happy to be a part of this working. It is our pleasure to speak with you concerning angels. However, before we begin, as always, we would simply ask you to take responsibility for your responses to those things which we say. Be conscious of whether or not you find our thoughts interesting. If you do, then they are yours to work with as you will. If they do not cause resonance to start in your heart, then let them go, for they are not for you. If you will use your discernment in this way and pick and choose between thoughts according to how they strike you, how they seem useful to you or not, that will enable us to feel that we are not disturbing your free will, and it will allow us to feel freer to speak our thoughts to you. We thank you for this consideration. In talking about angels, perhaps it is well to start talking about humans. We also talk about ourselves, for we also have been through third density. We also have been flung out by the Creator to skitter across the pond of the universe and move through many experiences and gather those pieces of information that interests us and seek what we desire. We and you together have had cause to feel the distance between ourselves and the one infinite Creator. Not a physical distance, but an emotional distance. Outer distances make far less of a difference to one's feelings than the inner distances, and we often have felt very much apart from the Creator and from other selves. It is part of the challenge and part of the blessing of being a spark of the Creator. You deal, my friends, with illusion, with a thick veil, with chaos and seeming uncertainty for your entire incarnation. In a way, your life is a race that goes not to the swift, but to the perceiver of truth. You are racing not towards an object, but towards the correct perception of objects. Occasionally, one thing will come clear to you. You will have a realization about yourself, and you are one quantum step beyond where you were before in understanding who you are. However, as the one known as G said, it is very easy to become lost in the tangle of thoughts that clutter the mind. The mind is a complex thing because you are using both your intellect and your consciousness. Your consciousness takes its information from love itself. Consciousness, by definition, is the consciousness of all there is, that which holds all things together. Your mind, on the other hand, is like a library with your information either filed fairly neatly or filed chaotically, so that you have to send one of the librarians scurrying after information, someone's name, the proper word that means such and such. The gaps in memory are notorious among the old, but they exist for everyone. So that is what it is to be human, among other things. It is standing in two camps, 1 foot in each. On the 1 foot space-time, the everyday consensus reality, the matrix, call it what you will. Your other foot is in the inner world, in consciousness, in love. Furthermore, that is the point of your being who you are. You are a place where two lands come together. You are the bridge between the finite and infinity, between limits and limitlessness. You bring, if you choose, limitless and infinite love into a world that is starving for love. You bring infinite and limitless light through your energy body and ground it into Earth's energy if you choose. You ask a great deal of yourself in third density, and that you ask yourself to wake up from a very comfortable slumber and become aware of the limitless potential that you contain. You become aware of your power and you seek its right use. You become aware that you do not know yourself very well, that you've been giving yourself a difficult time of it, looking with eyes of judgment rather than eyes of love upon what you do, what you think, and how you feel. You become aware that you have allowed a clutter of meaningless details to distract you from love itself, from the devotion of your deepest heart, from the hopes and dreams that you carry like treasure within yourself. And you become aware that you have the choice of how you shall be, thought by thought by thought. As so, you choose to take on the challenge of third density as a person who is awake, aware, and conscious and attentive, and you make of your life a beautiful pattern, a pattern of learning and service, a pattern of responsibilities taken and manifested. And as you get to know yourself, you begin finally to forgive yourself for being human. And in the fullness of time, you fall in love with yourself. And from that point on, your incarnation is easier, for the harshest critic is always the self. Yet, there is no end to the challenges of life behind the veil of forgetting. This is not the case with the angels. You have observed as students the regularity and predictability and hierarchical nature of the world as scientists have come to know it. The elements of which you are familiar, and many of which you are unfamiliar, make up not simply a random collection of elements, but elements that have an arrangement because of their nature. They fit together in a certain way, and there is a hierarchy of energies. You yourself are a perfect example of that hierarchy of energies. The energy field of the entire physical body, holding within it the energy fields of each organ, each system of hormones, and so forth, down to the cellular level. Your body understands its own hierarchy and its functions well. The hierarchy of the angels of which you have asked us is just as regular and predictable. You have angels at the level of creator, and you have angels at the level of personal angels. You have everything in between. They carry responsibilities according to their hierarchy. What makes angels unique is that they have never left the vibration of the creator. They've never departed from the one original thought of unconditional love. They've never incarnated, and they never will. While they have characteristics that can seem to be like a personality, to say that angels have a personality is to anthropomorphize incorrectly. Angels are love. Angels are love, responsible for realms in a hierarchical manner. There are those which work with your sublogos, the sun, in creating the archetypal mind and the blueprint for the densities in this particular creation. There are angels who are attracted to vibrations and flock to those whose vibration are beautiful to them. You may not feel beautiful, dear ones, especially when you're struggling, yet to those who vibrate in unconditional love, the qualities of one who is seeking to learn and to serve are irresistible. It takes a great deal of courage to persist in a spiritual preoccupation, and each of you is very beautiful to us and to the angels. There are two basic energies which angels have to offer. One is the simple energy of love itself, and the other is a feeling of safety, which could be called a healing energy. Both of those aspects are the resources which angels have to offer. Angels also have connections with the four elements and the four directions, so that as you become more and more aware of the correspondences between certain archangels and certain energies, certain powers and certain directions, you become more able to cleanse your habitation or the area around you with the help of the archangels. There is another class of angels that is indeed angelic, and yet these angels have had incarnations. Those are the entities who have chosen to be angels but were not angels from the Creator. Yet between incarnations, it became apparent to these souls that the work that they wished to do was angelic. And so these entities were incarnated and lived for a short time on this terrestrial ball you call Earth. And then, seemingly far before their time, they were taken instead of moving into the healing of the incarnation and the choosing of another incarnation. These particular entities move into the angelic realm. They're able to become angels because of their innocence with incarnation, These little ones are especially fond of those whose hearts are open and are very grateful to rest in that open heart that will accept them. As this instrument mentioned before the meditation began, it is critical, if you wish to work with angels, to thank them and to ask them to participate in your life, to be with you, to share their love and their healing and their feeling of safety. If you do not ask them, they cannot break free will. Therefore, it is important to remember each day to thank the angels that are around you and to ask them to continue helping you. One way that this instrument and the one known as Jim ask for the angels' help is when they bathe, for angels are very good at magnetizing such substances as water or oil. And if asked, angels can place healing energy into the bathwater or shower so that the water carries the vibration of love and of healing. This is also true of substances such as food. If you ask the angels to help with the preparation of a food, they're able to help you magnetize love into the food. Homely chores such as chopping wood or cleaning house are ennobled by the angels as they aid you in magnetizing love to the motions that you make with your body and the thoughts that you think with your mind. We find it stupendous to contemplate the generosity of the infinite Creator in enriching the experience of each of those it is sent out to gain experience by making sure that there is no corner of the creation that is not full of love. Not only on a passive level, but on the active level of those who love those who care. We are those of Quo and would ask if there's a follow-up to this query. I have a question, Quo, but I would first like to thank you for sharing that and sharing your love with us. My question is about the substance of marijuana, the chemical THC, and what effect it has on seeking of any given seeker. My question comes from my experience, which is that it has an impact that seems to be negative on my seeking. It lowers my energy in days following exposure to it, but at the time of using the substance, I do feel a certain inspiration and a sort of freedom. So that's my question. What is the nature of this substance and its effect on seeking? We are those of Quo and are aware of your query, my brother. Each substance has complex characteristics. Each food that you eat, each liquid that you drink has those characteristics which are generally considered positive and those characteristics which are considered undesirable and therefore called something like side effects. The substance marijuana is no exception. In general, my brother, if you want to obtain maximally useful results from your observations and your witness during incarnation, you are best served by a completely pure, and this instrument would say sober base. Every substance you ingest, every substance you drink, creates not just one, but several different effects within the body. And as the one known as S has said, it is quite so that every seeker will have a different experience of apples or asparagus or marijuana. However, none of asparagus' side effects impact the spiritual life, whereas in the case of marijuana, its effect on the spiritual life is inconstant and untrustable. The basic principle involved in this opinion is that principle which suggests that you will be able to open your mind, your body, and your spirit more and more as you become lit from within, as you become kindled by that spirit that yearns for the perfect devotion, the truly whole giving of the self to service. As you persist along this line of seeking, the veil thins for you little by little in a way which is safe for you. The difficulty that we see with the use of marijuana in the spiritual seeking is that it enables you to experience an environment for which you are not naturally prepared. Thusly, while the experience is a good one, perhaps at the time, the side effects that come with the use of marijuana, mainly the damping of the energies that you would normally have in more abundance, create the sum total experience of a positive time that you cannot fully use because it was artificially created, and the cumulative effects of the use of marijuana, which involve wariness and a lack of motivation. It is to be noted that all of these effects, both positive and seemingly negative, are temporary. The chemicals in marijuana are chemicals which have an effect here and there and here and there, and then within a month's time they are gone. Consequently, it is a relatively transparent recreational mood changer, and as this instrument can attest, that particular substance has medicinal qualities that are very appreciated by those who have chronic pain and chronic nausea. There would be no reason for us to encourage people to think of marijuana as evil or as an agent that will lead people astray. However, in terms of improving the spiritual life, its uses are very limited. When you wish to improve your spiritual life, turn within. There is no substance. There is no answer. There is no shortcut outside of the vast reaches of your heart. When we suggest that you go within, we truly mean to go within, to cross the boundary between the ordinary reality of everyday life and the reality that is the environment of your open heart. Dear ones, your people have ingested and drunk and smoked and breathed in an amazing variety of natural and man-made substances through the years of your history, working with outer things to attempt to achieve a result, and no result is found that is satisfactory. Meanwhile, quietly, humbly, invisibly, person after person after person has gone within and walked through the deserts of the self, climbed the mountains of the self, sailed on the oceans of the self, lost wondering, exultant, cast down, and in every weather and in every situation, the limitless potential of consciousness awaits. The most effective spiritual practice is to believe in the spiritual practice and to seek it as does a lover its mate. It may seem trivial or unnecessarily emotional to encourage you to have intense, personal, even intimate feelings about the spiritual life, yet it is very helpful and healthy for the spirit to yearn and to crave for this presence of the one Creator. You have that presence within you, yet it is a journey over desert and mountain and ocean, finally to come to that magic island at the center of your heart where lives love, unrestrained, wild and free. We therefore encourage you to enjoy yourselves as you will. We do not condemn marijuana, my friends. We are simply saying that for the serious seeker, that which he manipulates shall be within himself. In olden times and in some tribes of those who live in the indigenous way, to your present day, there would be the time of dying to the self in one way or another, whether it was a case of physically being immured in a cave or whether it was being buried alive for a certain amount of time. There were rituals in which there was the experience of death, and when that individual arose from the sweat lodge or the shaman's quest, for the first time there was the true appreciation of the gift of life. To have a keener, freer, wilder experience takes patience if it is done properly. Yet when you have come into states of mind that are altered and you have moved into them naturally, you are ready for the wisdom of the experience to impress itself upon you, and you are ready for the responsibility of what you now know. As the one known as Ra said, there are no mistakes, but there are sometimes surprises. To create an environment in which your surprises are likely to please you, we encourage you to seek within. Question: quote, can personal events be metaphysically manipulated by negatively oriented entities in order to give the outer appearance of synchronicity? If so, how does this demonstrate the law of one, and how can one best discern between true and false synchronicity? We are those of Quo and are aware of your query, my brother. My brother, we would say that it is entirely possible that negative entities might be interested in a certain entity and might find it useful to manipulate events so as to create synchronicity that would help to persuade a person to feel that uncertain thoughts were helpful. As always, those behind the veil, unable to see the true vibrations of unseen friends, must depend upon their powers of observation and discernment. If an unseen friend of the negative orientation were attempting to persuade you, for instance, that it was a good idea to break free of a relationship or otherwise destabilize your life, it would work only if the person being persuaded wanted that persuasion. Consequently, we would encourage each seeker to look at synchronicities and, rather than scooping them up wholesale without thought, look at and ponder the pattern being made by synchronicity. If the pattern is one which does not sit well with you for some reason, we would encourage you to trust that and to lift away from finding importance in such synchronicity. The principle of the law of one which bears upon this question is the principle of free will. This instrument, for instance, was once given the negative impression that she could not breathe. Try as she might, she could not bring air into her lungs. However, this psychic greeting was unable to be effective because its effect depended upon the instrument panicking and losing faith that all was well. As it happened, the instrument was well aware of the greeting, as it had been ongoing for some time, and simply walked on, thinking that probably eventually she would fall to the ground because there was no more air, and that when unconscious, the psychic greeting would no longer have an effect and she would regain her ability to breathe. Consequently, there was no fear, and after perhaps a minute of this situation before ongoing, it lifted away and was gone. There's a tremendous amount of play that you have with the steering of your mind. There's a great deal to learn about the discipline that you can exercise over your thoughts. and it is the work of an incarnation to become an artist with perception, working with thought in a creative way, but not fooling the self, being insightful but not being clever, moving into the verticality of a moment so that it opens like a flower rather than moving horizontally past the moment in search of a distant goal. The web of synchronicity is valid, and it is indeed offered from all sides that are attracted to you and your situation. It takes discernment to sort out the tremendous richness of information that is coming into you at all times. It is not the work of a moment. It is not the work of a year. It is the work of a lifetime, and we hope that each of you enjoys this carnival ride. Remember, dear ones, that what you see often depends upon how you choose to perceive. The one known as L spoke recently in a circle like this, of experiencing a concert first as full of negativity, where the words to the song seemed to be violent and hurtful, and the energy of those in the audience seemed to be shallow and driven by substance abuse. Yet she persisted and moved to a level where she was able to see the love pouring out of every heart, every instrument, every note, and her environment changed from an environment of hell to one of heaven. You have this capacity within you to make heaven of hell or hell of heaven. We encourage you to believe in the truth, which is that heaven lies within you. It is accessible. It is as if you were looking at a closed door. The key to that door is silence. Open it, walk into your own heart, and fly away. There you are safe. There you are loved. There you shall become capable of loving. We are with you. The angels are with you. Latui has also spoken of angels. They ask Latui how many angels each of us get assigned. Latui was asked this on January 15th, 1989, stating, each entity has, besides the higher self, a male guide, a female guide, and that which may be called somewhat of an androgynous guide, that is, that which has blended the polarities and has found balance in the blend. There are as well various friends which have been drawn to the entity according to the nature of the seeking which the entity has expressed and experienced in incarnation after incarnation. Some of these friends are at the time of the incarnation discarnate and serve as guides, shall we say, that may speak in concept, image, and symbol within the sleep and dreaming state or within the meditative state. There are many entities that are drawn to assist each entity within the incarnation so that all possible opportunities for learning may be taken advantage of without the imposing of any choice that would override the free will of the entity during the incarnation. It would appear that we are quite profoundly never truly alone. Our guides and angels create a web of love around us. What can angels do to help us? On November 3rd, 1979, Latui said, it depends upon your state of belief as to whether angels can physically aid you. If you believe in their reality, they can do almost anything, for grace is given unto those who believe. And the angels are the ministers of that grace. They are people such as you, who had learned through many lifetimes to glorify and praise the Creator. Thus, having learned, the angel can pass on the power and the invocation of light. There is nothing more powerful than the light of the Spirit. Thus, if you pray and hear the rustle of angels' wings, so be it. If you made contact with the part of your personality that links you with the perfection of the Creator, it is, however, incumbent upon the angel to know the limits of the laws of creation and the will of the Father. Thus, the angel's laws are not those of your illusion, but those of reality, and so it may seem at times that your requests are not being met. And if this is so, it is because it is not the will of your higher self which shares the perfection of the Creator. However, there's one thing that can keep us out of contact with our angels. In that same session, Latui warns their rights stop at the point where the person denies that there are such beings, denies this deity, the spirit, and love itself. This does not remove the angel from the person, but it renders the angel completely helpless, and so the angel patiently and consistently will set up again and again a situation in which the person who does not believe will see something which, if he thinks about it, can open the door to belief. According to the Confederation, there are also dark angels. On April 29, 1996, Quo said, there are indeed those which you may call the dark angels, which serve in their own way by providing negative catalyst. Any crystal shall fracture along its most flawed line. Thus look into your own pattern of beingness to see those opportunities presented that tempt you away from love and service to each entity that you meet. When these opportunities present themselves, it is your free will choice as to how you shall proceed. Perhaps the choice is made in action rather than in thought, thoughtlessly rather than in contemplation, seemingly by accident rather than a choice. and upon the foundation of this choice, the dark angels, or loyal opposition, as they have also been called, may offer the intensification of that choice which has been freely made. Then the seeker, who is like unto a light, is tempted to dim the light of love and service. If possible, the dark angel would seek to put out or control such a light. Thus is their service offered, and thus do they evolve in a negative sense of the service to self, the putting into order, and the gaining of power over others. Moving to a lecture on January 23rd, 2010, Jim asks, the question this evening has to do with the fact that when we get together in groups like this, where we share with an open heart, we are aware that a lot of light and energy and potential is generated. We are wondering how we can use that light, that potential, and that energy when we leave the group and go out into our daily lives, and just how the light and energy affects the dawning of the new age, the dawning of the fourth density, the density of love and understanding. Carla Channeling says, we are those known to you as the principle of quo. We would mention that we wish to thank you for the courage that it takes to set aside time for your busy schedules to seek the truth. The energy of that setting of the intention to seek the truth is profound to us, and we realize, as the one known as El said, you are not only out of the box, you are springing forth and blooming completely free of boxes here. It is a great pleasure to be part of this circle. It is indeed true, my friends, that when those of like mind gather together, all of those within the group are aided in their seeking. For each is now supported by the others in the group. It is as if you all hooked yourselves up to a great big battery, each of you being a battery for each other, each of you supporting and encouraging and validating each other. The nature of this phenomenon is, shall we say, electrical, for want of a better word, for each of you is powered by not only a physical body which is chemical in its nature, but also a metaphysical or energy body which is electrical in its basic workings. As you rest in the circle of seeking during the session of working, each of you and your auras is necessarily blending with the auras on either side of you. And as you allow the energy to rotate around the circle clockwise, these blended energies begin immediately to build a sacred space together. Indeed, as soon as you started talking together when you came in the door, indeed, you've already built an enormous dome of light over this dwelling place that reaches into the heavens, and we find it most beautiful to see. We turn our attention now to a discussion of the nature of this time and this moment, for relatively speaking, the next few years are as a moment in the general run of eternity and infinity. This moment is where, as this instrument said earlier, the third density light is waning, soon to be setting, so that there may come the dawning of a new light, a new morning, a new density, the density which we often call the density of love and understanding. In the waning of this third density light, there are more and more interpenetrations from fourth density light. The reason a density is called that is that each density contains light that is denser with information. Consequently, fourth density light carries an enormous amount of truth, which is why each of you is experiencing the opportunity now to gather up all that shadow side of yourself that you may have neglected because it was not, on the surface of it, attractive and did not seem to carry the energy of love and light. Yet, my friends, you are all things. If you are all one, then you contain all that there is in that unity. And while that unity's nature is that of the logos, or unconditional love, yet it also contains all the distortions of that love. And many, my friends, are the distortions of love brought about by fear. Consequently, this is the very time for you to cultivate the quality of fearlessness and to leap into faith. In the face of many seeming difficulties and disasters in your earth world, at this time it is easy to have fear. In the wake of so many theories about ascension and the great rapture, it is easy to have a fear that you shall not continue, or that you shall continue but be plucked from this place to a place of fire and brimstone. It is time to let those fears go, once and for all. As the poet said, "Death, where is thy sting? Grave, where is thy victory?" We ask you not to be concerned about such things as the physical life or the physical death, for unconditional and absolute love is with you in this world and in larger life as well. So if love is within you, what does it matter whether you experience as a physical being or as a spiritual being? For when that transition occurs, you know, and let it be beyond a shadow of doubt, that you shall continue as citizens of eternity. Your environment will change as you move through that process that takes you into graduation from this density to the next. But know you well that you shall not be judged except by your own preferences, for you shall walk into the sunlight, and it shall become fuller by exquisitely, carefully nuanced grades of density. And as you walk into the fuller light, it shall cease being third density and begin being fourth density. And yet you still may walk on. You may walk on until the light becomes too full and is uncomfortable to you. Then that is where you shall stop, and that is where you shall stay. And if you are still in third density light when you stop, then your energy body shall be transited to another third density planet, where you may again take up the lessons of polarity and that choice of how to serve. Shall you serve others, or shall you serve yourself? And if you had walked into fourth density before you stopped, then you have graduated. You pass the third grade in this school of souls, as it were, and you shall find opening before you a great many more choices of how to live and be and serve and learn because of the fullness of fourth density light. Some there are, my friends, who have indeed come from elsewhere and who have nurtured within their hearts the memory of that energy. And as you graduate, perhaps you shall simply keep walking the steps of light until you are back in your own native density. As this has an impact upon you now, it is the impact of releasing all fear and of knowing that you are a magical and powerful being. You are part of the Godhead principle, and as you create your inner universe, so it is for you. Thusly, if you have compassion and forgive yourself and others in your universe, you are forgiven and they are forgiven. You have that capacity and that entitlement. You may create for yourself fourth density right now, right here, by setting your intention to live by fourth density values. My friends, the one known as Jesus offered simple and strong advice. He spoke saying that there were only 2 commandments that he felt should be carried into what he considered a new age. The first value was to love the Creator wholeheartedly, without stop or hindrance, and with great kindling fire. The second was to love all those about you as though they were you, to treat all those about you as though they were you. When the one known as Peter said, "Well, what shall we do when you're gone?" the one known as Jesus the Christ said, "Feed my sheep." As you move from this very strongly supported circle of seeking into your own bailiwicks, into your own niches in life, we ask you to carry with you that intention to love the Creator and to love all those whom you meet as though they were yourself. Or, as the one known as Jesus said it, as though they were those who were dependent upon you to feed them. We are not suggesting that you become silly or foolish. We are not suggesting that you cloud your eyes and refrain from seeing that which you see. What we are suggesting is that when you see with the eyes of love, and you are seeing whomever you look at as a soul, you are not looking at their behavior when you look with eyes of love. You are looking at their essential being in the creation of the Father. All whom you see are sparks of the Creator. To see with eyes of love is to be blessed with an awareness that informs you beyond the capacities of the intellect to inform you. And this is helpful, for it grounds that which you see as a personality seeing other personalities. We do not suggest that you stop seeing with all of the ability that you have to link with people, to connect with people, and to draw boundaries where needed when dealing with people that would move you from your center. We are saying that in addition to those normal and everyday movements of personality, intellect, and emotion, you carry with you the love and the light of the one infinite Creator. For you do carry within you that love, that light, that Christ, if you will, indeed within your heart. That energy blazes and awaits your reaching. It is not that you must call the Creator to you, for the Creator is nearer to you than your breath, closer to you than your very bones. That love waits for you just as the one known as Jesus awaited the priests who followed the star. You have within you a manger, and in that manger lies love itself. That love is the love of you and your neighbor and all that is within the one infinite creation. So you are in a position to come into a stable of your own heart and take up that infant self that is your maturing soul. You have the capacity to cradle, nourish, and nurture that child within. You carry within you not only fourth density, but all densities, all emotions, all circumstances, all that is in manifestation, all that can be imagined, and those mysteries and paradoxes that lie beyond imagination. All this is within you, and therefore you are the one infinite creator and the one creation. We are not saying that you have grown into your puppy feet yet. You are very young gods, and there is much to burn away in the furnace of everyday life as you go about collecting to yourself those gems of being that are the very realest part of you. Thusly, when you spring forth from this group, from this blooming, from this precious moment, you carry within you the light that has been empowered by the safety of this group. You may allow this light to shine. Again, we do not speak of physical things, but of those things which are metaphysical or spiritual. You do not create the light, you carry a space through which the infinite love and light of the one creator may flow. You convect the light at all times through your energy body, and it touches all of the various energies of your little life within incarnation as it moves through what this instrument would call the chakras, or the energy centers. There is daily work to do, just as there is daily housework to do if one wishes one's house to be quite clean, so that the infinite love and light of the Creator may flow into your heart in full power. The heart is the very center of the chakra body, or the energy body. You help yourself to carry the light every time you discover that you have shut down one of your energy centers because something bothered you. When you go after that moment in your contemplations and you gaze upon that sudden closure or narrowing of your energy body because of pain, it's very helpful to get to know yourself better and better as you find out where your triggers are, what has taken you away from an open energy body, and what is squeezing that precious light as it flows into your heart. If you can keep that energy flowing into your open heart, then you are in a position to work with the energies of communication, compassion, and radiancy of being that lead you into a connection with the inspiration and information that comes to you through the gateway of intelligent infinity, pulling down from higher densities that which you need so that you are able to pursue your path with the utmost light possible. It is easy to feel open and radiant in a supported group such as this one. It is less easy to maintain that free feeling of blooming when you do not have this group with you physically. Yet, my friends, you have many unseen companions such as angels, your guidance system, and what this instrument would call the Holy Spirit, that are powerful allies to help you hold open that space through which the love of the Creator can flow. If you can imagine your energy body ending at the tip of your head, you may imagine a flame of spirit that is constantly there when your energy body is open. Metaphysically speaking, it is a very real light, and you are light unto all whom you meet. Imagine in the days to come, the tsunamis, the hurricanes, the earthquakes, all of those things that surround the end of an age in which the heat of aggression and war has been stored in the earth and must be allowed to be released. The opportunities that you will have to witness to the light, you may see for yourself as you gaze at the events occurring in your earth world at this time, that the great majority of entities of the tribe of humankind are just a heartbeat away from giving and loving and caring and living in the fourth density, where you may feed those about you and where you may expect those about you to feed you. Certainly what this instrument would call the loyal opposition is delighted to fly above the radar with war and rumors of war. We simply ask you not to be dismayed, but to move down into the roots of your being, down into who you are and why you are here at this time. It is a precious opportunity which you have to serve the light and to ask, what is your will for me today? For I give this day to you. This is your day. I am your servant. Here am I. Send me, send me. And you may say to yourself, am I worthy to carry this love to witness to this light? And we say to you that the Creator has no one but those who are error-prone. You are entirely worthy, just as you are. Indeed, we find each of you beautiful, for if you let the light come through you with no personality distortions, it would be white light. Yet, how beautiful it is that you shade the light according to the colors of your personality, so that you are like stained glass windows, giving the white light its color, its beauty, its particularity. To support the attempt and the intention to live according to fourth density, values of love and compassion, it is very helpful, my friends, that each of you finds ways to enter into the silence for those moments of communion with the Infinite One, which moves deeper than words can. How you wish to enter into the silence and to practice the presence of the One Creator is entirely your choice. There is an amazing array of ways to practice the presence of the One, from the heat of exercise to the contemplation of walking in nature, to the many ways of sitting in meditation, to the practice of words and inspiration as you read and think about what you have read. Whatever combination of those things appeals to you, we simply encourage you to make it a daily practice. Above all things, my friends, we would suggest both that you take yourself ultimately seriously and you take yourself lightly. It is easy to burn out on the spiritual path. Lift up from heaviness and self-judgment into compassion for the self, so that you fall in love with yourself just as you are. It is so much easier to love all those about you when you have done that. Practiced forgiveness upon yourself for each and every perceived imperfection. The hardest audience that you will ever have is yourself. The most severe critic, the sternest judge. Let those energies fall away from you, as they will, and forgive all. As you do so, you have begun a whole new life, and you may do that each and every day. You shall never run out of beginnings. You have infinity to rehearse. We would like at this time if there's a follow-up to this query before we open to the questioning to other questions. Question. Quo, I have a question. The concept of fourth density technologies that are coming in now came to mind. I'm wondering if you can comment on whether it is a useful concept. And if so, if you could discuss it from a spiritual perspective without infringing on my or anyone's free will. We are those of Quo, and we thank you for your query, my brother. The information which we may offer that is harmless is simply that there is indeed a certain amount of what this instrument would call retro-engineering of advanced technology, as you would call it, and that this source of these bits of technology is of a polarity which is negative. That is to say, there is that energy within your peoples which is called service to self. Just as we, in careful awareness of the need for the maintenance of complete free will, come to you in thoughts by means of channels such as this one, so there are entities which come to those who are seeking to graduate in service to self. And it is those energies which are compatible with such things as physical landings and so forth of entities from elsewhere. We're not saying that the technology itself has a negative vibration, but only that it would not be appropriate for a service to others group from elsewhere to infringe upon the free will of those upon your planet by attempting to introduce technology which might be to the advantage of those to whom it was given. Question. Would it be impossible for you to discuss any spiritual principles involved in sadism and masochism, the seeking out of inflicting or desiring pain to where it can be considered an arousing or mind-altering experience? Would this indicate some kind of blockage of the lower chakras that would cause that kind of thing to be sought out by an entity? We are those of Quo and believe we understand your query, my sister. There can be in the course of a lifetime the gathering of experiences which are very painful and which are suppressed, because as a young entity in incarnation, there's been no way to contain or understand these experiences. There are many different kinds of ways that a young soul can be abused, and often these memories are deeply buried in order that the infant or the toddler or the child that has experienced these painful things might survive with an intact psychology, as this instrument would say. These buried pockets of pain sometimes may call to the conscious mind of the adult who has no memory or only the vaguest memory of these early experiences, and suggest that somehow the expression of pain is appropriate. In psychological terms, my sister, it would be called a mental aberration or an illness. Certainly there is illness or toxicity involved in all that is of the shadow side. The path to light is straight through that pain, so that you may imagine yourself cradling that part of yourself that is involved with the darkness and allowing the mother aspect of the Creator to swaddle and rock this pain that is within. And through the dark night, continue rocking, continue loving, continue being there for the part of yourself that is in darkness. May we answer you further, my sister. We are those of Quo. No, thank you, Quo. I have another query, Quo. I wonder if you could discuss the discipline of mathematics from a spiritual perspective, the spiritual principles of math without infringing on the free will of anybody. Thank you. We are those of Quo, and we thank you for that query. It is an interesting one, in that from our perspective, there is no difference between the science of numbers and the science of music. It has often been said by those who are deeply involved in numbers among your people that numbers are entities, and we would agree with this, and yet we would take it further. Numbers are spiritual essences. The ratios and relationships betwixt numbers is the basis of the Hermetic philosophies, so-called the work of Hermes Trismegistus, and all the science of alchemy which attempts to take that basic metal which is the unrealized self and to transmute it into the gold of the realized spiritual self. Numbers have powerful and deep connections to various vibratory levels or states of being. If you feel that you may have a lucky number, for instance, it is very likely it is so that your particular vibration is comfortable with the powers of that particular number. If you wish to investigate the spiritual or sacred nature of numbers, there are various ways to do that. You may investigate them according to the discipline of the Kabbalah, for the Kabbalah with its gematria is a discipline hundreds and hundreds of years old, and its pathways are very interesting to travel for one who is interested in numbers. The reason that we compare numbers to music is that the vibratory nature of each note has a specific numerical value, so that when you're gazing at how harmony works, or how a 12-tone scale may work, for instance, or how the various modes may differ from the major and minor scales, you are looking at spiritual pathways that are compatible with various states of being. The science of sacred geometry may also be a discipline that shall satisfy your resonance with this subject, my brother, and we would recommend that you look into that as well. Question: I'm curious about the distinction between psychic attack and everyday run-of-the-mill catalyst, just the daily stuff, because life is life. I'm wondering if you could discuss that from a spiritual perspective, how to distinguish between the two without impinging on anyone's free will. Thanks. We thank you, my brother. There really is no clear boundary between the slings and arrows of outrageous everyday fortune, as this one would wrongly quote the one known as William, and psychic reading. However, there are slings and arrows that seem outrageous beyond the everyday. In those cases, it is likely the seeker will say he is having a psychic reading or a psychic attack. Usually, for the most part, psychic readings are a mechanism from within the self where light has not been developed in a certain way or in a certain area, and therefore that which strikes one as a catalyst strikes one much more keenly and much more painfully than the everyday experience and difficulty. Consequently, before one begins to think, oh, I'm being attacked by some evil entity from the outside, it is far more fruitful, generally speaking, to gaze within to see what has caused the seeming feeling of being attacked or greeted, to look into that moment of resistance or difficulty or frustration, and to gather intelligence concerning that happening. It is very instructive for any spiritual seeker to go right back into the heart of that which has troubled him, looking for patterns, for each has to come into incarnation with some things to do, some things to learn. And for each there is at least one incarnational lesson that repeats, like the theme that plays over and over again, like the tune you hear and you know Peter is coming, or the wolf is coming, or the duck in Peter and the Wolf, that marvelous piece which has a little tune for each entity. You may also have themes to your incarnation, leitmotifs that occur again and again. It is not that they occur precisely the same way each time, for you are different each time that you meet this incarnational lesson. It meets you at a different place. Yet there are elements of it that you recognize after you've contemplated this for a while. It helps greatly to have a handle on what your incarnational lessons are, because it removes all fear when you come into that awareness. Oh, I'm being hit by this again. Then you can think, oh, okay, I know that. That's my theme, that's my lesson. Let's see how I shall do it this time. Then you begin to ask yourself those questions that we so often encourage you to ask. Where is the love in this moment? Where is the Creator in this moment? How may I serve to my highest and best in this moment? How may I expand faith and let go of fear? How may I love? Occasionally there is an outside entity that wishes to distract you from the path that you have chosen to follow. For a being of light, a light worker that is distracted from the light work and coaxed into sitting by the side of the road in heavy gloom has successfully been taken away from that worker's reason for being here. So when you feel distracted, when you feel discouraged, allow those feelings to wash through you as you allow the love and the light of the Infinite One to fill you. That which happens to you, be it the normal difficulties of every day or that which might be called a psychic greeting, all responds to the same thing, your loving attention. So let your light shine forth. And when it is challenged, take the time to honor and respect that which the challenge is, and then let it be and let it go, so that you may be about the business that you came to be about. May we answer you further, my brother. Here are those of Quo. No, thank you, Quo. I'm satisfied. We are known to you as the principle of Quo. Many thanks to each of you. It has been our privilege and pleasure to be a part of this meditation. We leave this instrument and this group in the love and in the light of the one infinite Creator. Adonai. Adonai Vasu Boragas. So this grouping of channelings is fascinating. I'm fascinated with angels. If you read further about Carla, who is the one channeling this, she says that she was greeted by a number of angels along the way, including Michael and others as well. And I believe that there's a sort of angelic feeling I get when I read the words of quote. They're not claiming to be angels, but it's interesting. There are entities after incarnation that realize their service that they want to do after incarnation is to be angels. So I think it's fascinating that people have lived on the earth and chosen to be angels. And I have had that feeling many times of angelic type presences around me, and I'm fascinated by it and I want to know more. I do call upon the angels on a regular basis for protection. I thank them often. But as they say, I never say that in ignorance of the one creator. But it's interesting the way they are discussing angels. Angels should not be anthropomorphized. They don't have personalities. They're energies that are related to the seasons and the elements that when called upon can help you. Only when called upon, you have to believe in them. So many people don't believe in these things, and you're not going to find the benefits of these angelic energies around you. The other interesting answer for the question about marijuana, they're not saying that it's bad. They're basically saying any substance that you take is never going to really get you to the place you want to be at spiritually. It's all within. Oftentimes people say, hey, I'm going to try this new psychedelic. It's going to be the one thing that's going to take me to the creator or expand my consciousness to a certain point. And you may find some amazing spiritual experiences with DMT and LSD and psilocybin, but ultimately it's like dipping your toe in the water, but you're never actually swimming, and you're never going to truly find your spiritual path through those. They might aid you temporarily. As with marijuana, it's a wonderful thing. It's certainly much better than alcohol, and I have met people that have been aided spiritually by its substance. But ultimately, it can demotivate you and take away your energy when abused. As with all things, when done in balance, it's not a bad thing. That's all they're saying. I don't think they're saying it's all bad or evil. They're not saying that. But if you're trying to use it to reach some level of spirituality, you're probably not going to find what you're looking for. I'd love to know your feelings about the second portion of the channeling, the idea that we blend as a group. And I have this feeling when my videos come out and I'm on chat with everyone, that it feels like there's a greater energy. We're all batteries contributing to this amazing blending of our auras. And there is this group energy. And I always feel it at the end of the videos. When I say welcome to the Reality Revolution in chat, I can feel this amazing light that we're all sharing. And I wish we could expand it and let it spread all over the planet every time. If you're watching this video now, I know you know what I'm saying. My heart is open, and in this open heart, I can feel the energies of everyone flowing through each one right now. We are a social memory complex. We have come together, and we can use this light. Keep your hearts open once this episode is over, and spread this light to all around you, for you are a lighthouse, and people see you from infinities away with the light that you have and that you bring and continue to bring it. And you are the light that we need to see and venture forth. And we need your light. Thank you for your light. Us as a group, we expand this light together. I'm sending all the light and love to you. And thank you so much for joining me. Check out my other Quo episodes in the playlist. And welcome to the Reality Revolution.